it on public tender that was going to happen anyway, and then create a structure so that the company anymore, create an internal structure so that there is the company gets out of the stock market and there is no profit involved. So whenever there is some excess money created through invoicing, it will go back to inversions to the public company, or it will go towards making water accessible to more people, or making water cheaper. That is the initial plan. And we said, how shall we do this? The first idea that sprang to mind was, okay, let's all put some money. How many are we here? Too little. So what do we need? We need to divide the estimated value of the water company by the number of water meters in the city. This was result was 136 euros per watt. That's why it was called Initiative 136. 1.5 years after, now we're facing the imminent privatization of the water company, and we haven't been able to get together this money. Of course, because there is poverty in Greece right now, people cannot keep this money, and also because many people prefer to have this company public. Although they know that this cannot happen anymore, they insist on saying that So right now we're in the final stage of the struggle, and we are trying to find this money anyway. We're in contact with financial organizations that have some ethical standards that will not charge us too much interest in order to be able to carry on with this plan. I don't know how many chances there are that we're going to go through, but we're going to fight to the end of this struggle. At the same time, we're forming a front against privatization. So if we manage to stop privatization, it's okay with us. We're not obsessed with making it social. But if the company is to be privatized, we need it to pass to citizens' hands. This is one issue. The other issue is that part of what this neoliberal restructuring is that the extractivist companies have entered Greece in a way that is unprecedented. In ways that we can only see in Latin America so far. So they're starting mega projects of extractivism, they're starting mega projects of gold mining. That right now they're trying to build the biggest open air whole of Europe, right 50 kilometers away from my hometown. This will destroy huge forest, virgin forest. This will poison the water because they use all the water resources of the area in order to extract the gold out of it. And they also use cyanide and many different poisons, which will be returned to the natural medium. So there is a huge movement against this right now, but also a movement the company is trying to tend to pose at them, creating jobs, creating development, disguising all this as economic development. We know that this is not true because these jobs are going to last 10 years. And after 10 years, everyone has to migrate from this because it's going to be poor. So these issues are interconnected. It's about water also, the mining operation. So there's a huge movement developing around this as well. And recently we have managed to make a huge march. Several thousand people in Thessaloniki. And this has had some impact on the media abroad. So what we're now trying to do right now is make connections with the Canadians. Why the Canadians? Because it's a Canadian company, Eldorado Gold. And we're trying to find a way to organize short, medium term an international protest against Eldorado Gold in conjunction with the Canadians who could protest on the company offices, in the mining site where protests are violently repressed, had severely injured people there, nearly killed. People are tear gassed and shot with rubber bullets in every demonstration there. There is a police regime in the surrounding villages. People control every movement. Even students are abducted from the school and taken to the police station in order to interrogate them on what their parents have been doing. So we're talking about police state right now. So it takes DNA from all the population around the mining city.
Without their consent.
Without their consent. So we have to make all this visible. And in order to do this, we need the participation of the international movement. We need all the rest of the people that are struggling against gold mining in general, and Dorado Gold especially. So we could use your help on this. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Theo. So now, just as the last presentation before we start discussion, is from Forty. Who is from the Public Water Service in Tunisia, to give us a quick update of what's happening in Tunisia now with the public water services. And tu vas parler en français, non?
Non, il va parler en anglais. Il a appris hier soir. Juste
He's
attends.
going to speak in French pendant 5 minutes.
D'accord. Oui, sans micro.
Non.
Sans micro. Bon, bienvenue à tous et à toutes.
Mais on fait consécutif alors?
Ah, on n'a pas le choix.
So, just looking at
Alors, bonjour à toutes et à tous. La Tunisie, comme vous le savez, est à l'abri peut-être du problème de la desserte en eau potable, avec une gestion du service public qui a fait des performances, tant au niveau de la desserte dans les centres urbains que dans les zones rurales. Les statistiques qui avoisinent les 90% au niveau urbain et les 100% au niveau... c'est plutôt l'inverse, 100% au niveau urbain et plus de 90% au niveau rural.
Okay, welcome everybody to Tunisia. My name is Fouki. Even though we lack a lot of water in Tunisia, our public services of water has reached basically universal access in urban areas and about 90% in rural.
Or, malgré cette abondance, disons, relative de desserte, la Tunisie connaîtra d'ici l'an 2025 au moins deux problèmes. Un problème de ce qu'on appelle le stress hydrique, c'est-à-dire la réduction du capital des ressources hydrauliques d'ici l'an 2025, malgré le lancement d'une étude perspective pour l'eau d'ici l'an 2050.
So we have two major problems. We know that by 2025, Tunisia will be under conditions of heavy water stress. And we have started some major studies to project what it's going to be like out until 2050.
Selon les spécialistes, la consommation du Tunisien est à la limite du stress hydrique par une moyenne de 470 litres. Donc, ce qui fait que, suivant les normes internationales, la Tunisie est à la seuil du stress hydrique. Ça fait un bon bout.
So, based on the average consumption of Tunisians of 470 liters, we know that we are already right on the edge of internationally recognized norms of water stress.
Le deuxième grand défi, c'est que cette entreprise publique qui gère le secteur de l'eau en Tunisie est aujourd'hui convoitée, et elle est la proie de la multinationale. Et comme vous le savez, la question de l'eau est essentiellement une question d'enjeu politique, financière essentiellement. Et c'est pour cela que la réponse devrait être une réponse citoyenne, une réponse collective.
So we also, the second problem is that our public utility is being targeted by the privateers, by global capital and global corporations. And as we know, the core of the water issues are political. There are also heavy financial implications, and we are convinced that the appropriate response that we must bring is a social one and a political one.
À l'heure actuelle, la question de l'eau ne se pose pas avec acuité au niveau des acteurs de la société civile, au niveau des citoyens habitués à être servis par les services publics, et elle reste du domaine purement syndical, limité et concentré dans la sphère syndicale.
Okay, so the question of the dangers to the water sector, these threats that I'm mentioning are actually not very well known by the broad population. Right now, the only Tunisian organization that is fully focused on it is the UGTT, the trade union movement, where we do have the awareness of the threats of these change of policies.
C'est pour cela qu'un grand effort et un grand travail qui attend tant la société civile que les syndicalistes est d'essayer de toucher les citoyens et d'en faire de la question de l'eau et des risques de privatisation une question d'opinion publique.
So our work now, our challenge now, is for us in the trade union movement to reach out to civil society to together make this a fundamental issue for all public opinion in this country.
Quoi qu'on dise sur la question de privatisation et les différentes formes que cela prend, du BOT, de la privatisation complète des services publics, ou bien de l'ouverture du capital aux entités publiques, et comme vous le savez, les multinationales changent chaque fois de facette et ce qu'on appelle les privatisations divisées.
So regardless of which facet or which face of privatization we see, whether it goes from the full divestment of the assets through to the public-private partnerships, through opening your capital or floating shares on the stock market, it's along the same continuum.
C'est pour cela que j'appelle les acteurs, vous qui êtes ici présents, les acteurs de la société civile internationale, à refaire vivre cette option qui a été développée à un certain moment par l'International des services publics, qui consiste en cette coopération publique-publique entre les secteurs publics les plus performants du Nord, du Sud, ou bien intra-Sud-Sud, pour réellement constituer un groupe de pression et un rempart contre cette hégémonie, ce que j'ai appelé dictature des multinationales, parce que malgré...
So that's why I call on all the activists here and to re-inject more focus on the alternative that Public Services International had initiated a number of years ago, the public-public partnership between public operators, whether north-south, south-south, so that it can build a wall of defense against the privateers.
Et je propose que la Journée mondiale de l'eau, ce sera à l'occasion de ce forum, de déclarer une journée internationale de coopération des services publics et qui sera l'occasion de mobiliser l'opinion publique, soit dans les pays du Sud ou dans les pays du Nord, sur la question de la gestion publique des services de l'eau. Je vous remercie pour votre attention.
And so,
Toi, t'applaudis pas de monsieur de...
pardon?
Mais toi, t'applaudis pas, c'est monsieur comme ça.
C'est une discrimination française. Les Anglais ont le droit d'applaudir aussi. Et on va les permettre d'applaudir dans 2 secondes. Merci Claude. And so, at the risk of forgetting what he said, one of my suggestions is that on the next World Water Day or at the outcome of this forum, we call for an international day of cooperation between public utilities to create the right to water, to really create an alternative model to the privateers. Thank you very much. You can now applaud.
My name is Meera Karunanathan. I'm with the Blue Planet Project, which is the international water justice project of the Council of Canadians, which is based in Canada. Our organization has been working in alliance and partnership with many of the organizations in this room to promote water justice at the global level. And I think what is clearly highlighted in the three examples that were presented today is that our local struggles are interconnected, that we have a common enemy in neoliberalism, and that there are many common strategies that are being pursued at the local level. That there's benefit in us coming together, in us uniting together in fighting our common enemy. And this is what many of our organizations have been doing together for over a decade now. And there have been many victories that have been achieved. I'm going to borrow the words of my friend Santiago. We've achieved enough victories at the international level by breaking the consensus on the World Water Forum. This has been a rallying point for we've come together around these horrible corporate lobby forums called World Water Forums, where governments get together with corporations to talk about water policy in spaces that exclude our movement. We've broken that consensus by getting governments to sign a declaration against the World Water Forum. We've achieved a significant victory in the July 2010 resolution on the human right to water at the UN General Assembly, where governments voted in favor of the recognition of water and sanitation as a human right. This was a huge victory, not for governments, but for our movements who fought for this for a very long time. And so in the words of Santiago, we've shown time and time again through our local struggles and our international struggles that mobilization works. We are at a conjuncture now with this UN recognition of the human right to water. We know now that the right to water has been recognized, we need to see it implemented, and we need to see it implemented in a manner that is consistent with our local struggles, that is consistent with what we are fighting for in Peru, in Tunisia, in Greece. We need a human right to water that reflects the interests of people and the planet. It's a very difficult challenge because at the moment corporations are fighting to have the human right to water defined in their interests, to promote their interests. And therefore we need to come together to talk about how we're going to achieve this. We've come together many times to talk about what we want to achieve. There's general consensus or many ideas around what we want to achieve. What we'd like to discuss today in an open discussion is how to achieve this. And through our discussions, we've had many discussions over the years, regional meetings on the human right to water, and more recently we had a Water Justice Day. We've been talking about strategies. And there have been quite a few that have come up. So what we want to do is just talk about two strategies during this workshop and talk about how we can work together on these strategies. So there have been two streams. One has been to look at the UN and see if we can use the UN as a tool in the implementation of the human right to water. We know that there are many challenges related to the UN. But we would like to see how we can use the UN as the only democratic or quasi-democratic international institution, how we can use that as a tool to accomplish the implementation of the human right to water. So Christina will talk about, Christina and Brent will talk about some of the proposals around that. Before